Right now, the search is on for 3 people who police a shot at a Savannah rapper killing a member of his entourage. It happened in Los Angeles, and cameras captured the applause. Aftermath, this crazy footage shows Quando Rondo's homie getting dragged from a car. You see Quando freak out, and you can understand why the ops had just murdered his best friend. But at the time, nobody knew for sure who was behind it. Now, though the truth is being revealed, still, I don't know if people still say it. They used to say it, but you also mention a song, they'd be like, just wait until you see this video where DK admits to it. You won't believe this footage of Chu's homie, applause, shot no on August 19th. 2022 5 masked men rolled up on Quando Rondo and his homie Lulub and started letting off shots. Quando was parked at a gas station, and after the shots started to fly, he ducked and high, trying his best to shelter himself from the bullets. By some miracle, Quando managed to remain unscathed. However, his homie LPAB, who's also his cousin, wasn't so lucky. As you can imagine, Quando was traumatized by the incident, and footage of the aftermath is pretty shocking here. It is what's meant to be CCTV footage of the shooting. After the shooting, though, we see Chu's reaction. And it's bad. You can tell Quando is confused and doesn't really know what's going on. But once the police pull his cousin's body out of the car, he completely freaks. Applause. Out no. Although Quando survived, he was seriously shaken up by the incident. In the video, you see his arms flailing around the place, and he looks visibly disturbed. Chu's cousin was known as El Pobe, and it seems that he was only killed due to being with Quando at the time. What's interesting about this shooting, though, is that PB was supposed to appear in court in connection with some serious crimes, but because he was shot and killed, he never did. He was murdered just 1 week before he was supposed to face trial. It wasn't just any charges he was facing, though. He was going to be charged with racketeering. In other words, he was facing a RICO charge, and we know how bad they could be. LPB was also known as Bandit Pablo, and he was a notorious name throughout Georgia. His original charges came from back in 2019 when he and 10 of his accomplices allegedly went on a massive crime spree. It said they reaped havoc all over J. Their alleged crimes included burglary, entering automobiles, and car theft, but that only scratches the surface of it. So Quando Rondo chose some interesting company to hang around with. But what's any of this got to do with Lil Durk? Well, everything. For a long time, nobody really knew why PB and Quando were shot at, but since Durk's arrest, it started to come clear PB was a guy that probably had many enemies. But the reason he was brutally murdered in cold blood wasn't anything to do with that. We're learning now that it was all to do with him being friends with Quando Rondo. Just the other day, federal agents swooped in and grabbed 5 men from Chicago who they believe were responsible for the shooting. They're being charged with conspiracy to commit murder and retaliation for King Von's death. So why has it taken police nearly 2 years to arrest anybody? We're about to find out. But first, let's go through what we know happened on the day of the El Pab's murder. According to the indictment, a group of gang members from Chicago traveled to L.A. with the intention of murdering Quando Rondo. The gang in question is known as OTF, which is also the name of Durk's music group. For years, Durk has denied that OTF is a gang, but the police aren't convinced. It probably also doesn't help that nearly every one of his songs mentions gang activity. So the alleged OTF gang members supposedly booked some flights from Chicago to LA with a credit card that was associated with one of their members. Apparently, they received some intel on Chu's whereabouts and decided to act. One of the members, called Grant, allegedly oversaw the operation and booked a separate flight from Miami to Cali on a private jet. It said that Grant organized the vehicles, firearms, and even fake license plates that the gang allegedly used to carry out the assassination. It said that after the shooting, the crew headed to a nearby burger joint to discuss payment for the hit, and shortly after flew back to Chicago for a while. That was at Quando mourned his cousin's death, and people speculated about who they thought was behind it. People thought it was likely that it had something to do with Von's death, but nobody knew for sure. Until now, the people behind it thought they'd gotten away with it, but the feds were secretly building up their case and waiting for the perfect time to strike. What's also interesting is Durk was just about to release a new album, but now he's pushed the date back to the end of November. Maybe he thinks he'll be out by then, but from what we found out, that's wishful thinking. Not only do they have plenty of evidence against Durk, but the police are said to also have an informant, somebody very close to him, that snitched prior to this incident. Durk's future was looking pretty bright. He had an album on the way. His criminal record had just been wiped, and he'd been recently given the key to Chicago. The guy was on top of the world after all. The shooting was from 2 years ago, so he probably thought he'd gotten away with it, although People now are surprised that he was the mastermind behind it. It was kind of obvious. In fact, people have been accusing him for years. It's just that the police took a while to make the case proof that it was Lil Durk that killed PAB 2 years ago. The internet was ablaze with people debating, speculating, and trying to figure out who was behind the attempt on Quando Rondo's life. But somebody on Reddit has done some serious investigative work and actually pieced together what allegedly really happened. This internet detective pretty much did the police's work for them. So the first piece of evidence that it was Durk and OTF that carried out the killing was this. This is a story posted by Quando in 2022. And to the untrained eye, it might not look that important, however, reveals some very intriguing details. In the post, Quando says, "I'm my own man. I laid my flag down. I'm not an H, y'all ain't gonna ride for real. It's no sense of me being a part of y'all. Underscore. What he's talking about here is his affiliation with the Crips. That's right, Quando was a known member of one of the Crips, one of America's most notorious gangs, which explains why he was always seen wearing blue specifically. He was part of an LA branch of the Crips known as the Neighborhood Rolling Six, the same gang that the now deceased law rapper Nipsey Hussle belonged to. Why any of this matters is because Rondo claimed his gang refused to help him, and there's even evidence that they set him up following that Instagram post. Rondo sent shockwaves throughout the hood for doing the unthinkable. You've got to remember you're not allowed to just leave the Crips. You're meant to get jumped out, which basically means getting beaten to a pulp by loads of guys. Quando refused to go through this ritual, and the gang wasn't happy about it. Some of the gang members like Jay Stone had a few things to say. Stone posed to this: "You can't drop your flag and say you're not an H no more. Underscore. Go to the hood and get you put off. Don't cry. Now we lose. Homies all the time, not everybody on a ride." He was a goofy internet banger. Anyway, now deceased rapper Fio also chimed in and pretty much claimed Quando was a coward. He said, "Dog, homeboy died in Cali. He trying to squash beef and throw his flag in it too late for that nephew." So on the surface, these things might look unrelated to PB's death, but not everything is, as it seems the Crenshaw area of law is home to a division of the Rolling 60s gang called Score Gang. Check this out, this story from one of their IG pages shows Durk allegedly clicking up with them. Since it was well known that Quando was enemies with Durk, why would they do that? It started to make sense why Quando put down his flag. After that, Durk released a song called Aha, where he says the line, "I can have your homie set you up as a middleman," which people think is related to Quando Rondo. And then there's this here. You can see an IG story from an OTF member. It seems they knew about PAB getting shot in the head. Even before it was released to the public, there's a lot more stuff that implicates Durk and ODF in the shooting. But the most obvious is when Durk sat down with academics, what he said was shocking. But at the time, nobody realized it. Not long after Durk's arrest, this interview between him and academics resurfaced. In the interview, academics asked Durk about the whole Slide for Vaughn campaign. That campaign was basically the internet trolling Durk and questioning whether or not he was going to get revenge for his slain friend. Check out Durk's reply, "Tried by the Slide for Vaughn comics. I don't know if people don't say they used to say it, but you also mention a song. They'd be seen SL Foreign. I think they trolling me up. By the way, that song is fire. I ain't gonna lie, some reason. I just don't see comments, know some odd reason. I don't know, might be the WUBC comments a lot. Just look at academics' face, you can see him putting two and two together. And then when he realizes what Durk means, he says this, they kind of chilled out a little bit. I wonder why that interview has a whole different meaning now, and you can bet the prosecution will be using it in court still. Is it really that surprising since we've known for a while that OTF and Vaughn's people wanted Quando dead? I guess people just didn't realize how directly involved Durk allegedly is. But now the real question is, why did Durk get caught? The answer is that he was betrayed, or at least that's what people think. He wasn't betrayed by just anybody, though. He was betrayed by one of the people closest to him. Durk was betrayed. It's just been revealed that Durk was likely snitched on by a member of his gang called OTF Jam. We're now finding out that OTF Jam wore a wire for 12 whole years and was reportedly leaking information about Durk, ODF, and other associates to the police. What's also very coincidental is that Jam was allegedly serving a 12-year sentence and was released from jail just after Rondo and his cousin were shot at. People in the comments have had a lot to say about this, with many thinking that Durk also snitched on himself with lyrics from some of his songs. In one of his songs, Durk talks about doing a mission in Cali and being stuck in traffic. People think that's a hint at what happened with P. Another user mentioned how it was ironic that people were clowning Durk for not sliding for Vaughn, but the same people are now making fun of him for being arrested. The user said they made fun of Durk for not sliding for Vaughn. Now the same people will laugh at him for going down for it. Someone else said a wire for multiple years. They cooked if that's true, and an OTF member did snitch, then who knows what the police know about Durk and OT's alleged crimes. But who is this OTF Jam, and why did he choose to snitch while another Chicago rapper has spoken about it? And the truth is quite shocking. The rapper's name is King Yella, and he says he heard that OTF Jam implicated Durk in the murder of LP. Check out, Lil Durk been picked up by the feds. I don't know if you've been charged with nothing, probably questioning it. They put an OTF in a lot of things, but I heard somebody named OTF Jim. They said they've been calling him a rat. And basically he said, okay, I'm a rat, yo. Then explains that if anybody in OTF even mentions Durk's name, that's all it's going to take for police to bring him down. Why watch this, that all this information that I know are this, I'm going to tell this, I'm going to tell that in my video earlier. I told y'all, man, if somebody say Durk name, that's all it's going to take to say that man name. And obviously, like I said earlier too, if they come, they coming. Yo then goes into why this is not a random arrest, and that somebody definitely snitched him, telling somebody from OTF, somebody OTF affiliated somebody that know enough information on Lil Durk and his crew. And it's messed up. That's what I'll be saying. I don't care how much money you got, what's going on, man. These people will throw you on the bus. He then says that he feels like Durk knew this was coming. Maybe Durk felt it already. He felt that it was coming. It was something coming. He knew something was coming. You know how he knew something coming, because everybody kept saying he's trying to dodge that Rico. Everybody been saying this. So if everybody else knew what you think, he was in his head. Mama, Doug, Shingham, everybody. So that pretty much sums up what everybody's saying about him being snitched on. But what most people don't know is that OTF Jam actually released a song when he just got out of prison. It's called Federal Freestyle. And no, that's not a joke. That's literally what it's called. And what's crazier is that the song was released on Durk's official YouTube channel. If that wasn't a red flag, I don't know what is. And as you can imagine, the comments are hilarious. One user wrote, I jammed, turn your wire up, this my SH feds. And somebody else put this, came home wearing a wire and still made this track NGL. That's some nasty work, since Jam was released from jail just before that song was released, and people think he was wearing a wire as soon as he came out of jail. Then they might be right, in addition to what we know from King Yella and what the internet is saying. Whack 100 has also spoken about Jam snitching, speaking with DJ Vlad. Whack 100 said this: he did 12 years, got out interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000, made mention that ain't no smudge on his name. He ain't never been a rat, caught a gun case. But eventually he flipped DJ Vlad, then added that Jam served a 12-year prison sentence for attempted murder, which happened back in 2010. He then explains that Jam was released in 2022, which coincidentally lines up with the time of LOLPB's murder. Since then, Jam has allegedly been wearing a recording device to collect information on Lil Durk, and OTF people are now saying he fed to the police. From what we know, it looks like the FBI have been coordinating this attack for a while and collecting all the information possible before capturing Durk. Although it's too early to say what the outcome will be, it's not looking good for Durk. He was almost able to leave his life of crime behind, but events from 2020 are catching up with him. Let's take a look at what those events were. Quando Rondo versus King Von. Most people know about the beef between King Von and Quando, but not many know what actually caused it, and that it was likely due to beef between King Von and NBA Youngboy. Let me explain. According to a Reddit user, it went down like this. Quando and V were origin friends, and apparently there's a video backstage of Quando and V hanging out together. So how did they go from friends to bitter enemies? Well, V got out of jail and said on live that he liked Young Boy's music. There's apparently multiple lies online. You can find V singing Young Boy songs. But then something happened behind the scenes, and everything changed. A live came out one day where King Von was in a car, and he started dissing Young Boy and saying that his raps are capped. No one knows for sure what cows this change of heart, but people speculate that V reached out for a feature, and Young Boy ignored him. Things would turn even more sour when V posted a picture of him and Young Boy's baby mama. That was enough to escalate the beef, and although she said they were just doing a song, the damage was done hours later. Young Boy would post a picture with a caption saying, I might have my son your daughter. Since you troll him things, then get even crazier. When Young Boy releases a snippet with Asian doll King Von's ex, Von would reply on Twitter with some savage remarks like that y'all got garbage, try again MF, and I got some underscore on y'all baby moms that would make you not want to claim your kids. And meanwhile, Quando Rondo would get dragged into it when V trolled him over his first week's album sales. A relationship from there would never be repaired, especially as V also said that he was cool with many of Young Boy's rivals like Fredo Bang and Jay Youngin. And then the day before V's death, he would be interviewed by academics and said that there wasn't any music beef unless someone got killed. I guess he didn't realize he'd be the person getting killed over it. So the reason why Quando was dragged into this beef is because NBA YoungBoy was like a mentor to him, whereas Durk was like a mentor to Vaughn after V was shot and killed. Quando Rondo received a lot of heat and backlash for it. So he decided to clear things up in an interview with Anno. The interview starts off with him explaining how Vaughn and Durk were cool. So let's back up because I know you and Durk was cool. Obviously, he was on your album and y'all was cool and you was cool with V. So that night when he was in the parking lot, what led up to you even being in the parking? It's true. They did actually have a song together. After that, Quando goes on to explain what happened that night that led to Death Man, from my understanding, like not tried I don't want. Nobody to think I'm chasing clout, bringing their name up and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, I'm like, it ain't about no clout. Like I got man like when people be saying like people chasing clout and stuff, how man like a rich. After that, he goes on to explain his version of events. Since at this point they hadn't officially retaliated against him, that we know Quando attempts to keep things cool. He doesn't want to address Durk by name, so instead refers to him as Big Bro. From my understanding, man, it was a love, I had a relationship with the Big Bro, not want to say his name. Not you feel me, you know I'm talking about the dud that was on my album, like it was all love us. From my understanding, I've heard you say positive things about him. He then further explains why he and Durk were cool and says that unlike some of his own friends, Durk never once charged him for a feature. Dude never charged me for a fame, none of that knowing. He could have I looked at it, I'm like, this the Big Bro, like Big Bro legend, like this how all the young rappers coming up in the game looking at him like been listening to him since I've been 12, but there's no change in the past. And what happened, V hit Quando, and Choose Gang retaliated here. You can see CCTV video the fateful night. Where V was killed, you see V in the white shirt approach Quando, who's leaning on the car. V then starts showering him with punches. Quando tries to escape, but then his friend L. Tim starts letting off shots in the same. Angela interviewed Quando speaks about the punch and describes it as an out-of-body experience. So I'm letting this group come back. Next thing you know, hit me. You feel me? Boom, bam, man. Like, I lie to you not, man. I lie to you not like it's like I had an out-of-body experience. Wando was supposedly taking a nap in the car while he waited for one of his friends outside. He got out for a second, and that's when Durk attacked him after he was attacked. Rondo's best friend, L. Tim, whose real name is Timothy Leaks, jumped to his defense. Shot V, and the rest is history. Right after V's death, Tim was charged with murder, but in the end, he was cleared of all charges. Vaughn's team was furious about it, and his ex-girlfriend wrote on Twitter, because the police said Tim ain't killing, the police did, even though Quando was really just a victim of a random assault. King Vaughn's associates have never forgiven him for it, especially Durk, since he and Vaughn go way back. Durk and King Vaughn's criminal history. Durk and V know each other from when they were kids, but in 2019, they got arrested together for a shooting on February 5th. 2019, a man named Alexander Witherspoon was shot after a robbery in Atlanta. At the time, both Vaughn and Durk were charged with crime. The shooting happened outside a restaurant known as the Varsity. Prosecutors told the judge that Alexander Witherspoon was shot there in his Jeep, as well as $30,000 in cash was stolen. The victim survived, but suffered a gunshot wound to his leg. Here's from inside the courtroom where the prosecutors talk about the charges. They start off by describing what the victim said happened. He said his chain was snatched off his neck, and he had $30,000 stolen from him, and they stole the vehicle he was driving. They then say that there was video footage of Durk pulling the trigger. You see Mr. Banks' arm out the window, firing several shots at the victim. Toward the victim, they got away with it since their lawyer argued you don't actually see Durk's face, but the incident was huge. It involved two of the world's biggest rappers, and since they are both known to be heavily involved in Chicago gang activity, the police feared it was starting to spread to Atlanta. So they flew in a police chief from Chicago to speak in court during the trial. Vaughn and Durk were refused bail and charged with aggravated assault, attempted murder, and street gang activities, amongst other things. Although the shooting happened in February 2019, a warrant went out for Durk's arrest in May of the same year. Durk turned himself in and released a song about it. Although V died before the verdict was ever reached, Durk was later cleared of all charges. There was also another incident of them being involved in a shooting together. However, this one took place after V had died, but was said to have been planned while he was still living. This victim was known as FBG Duck, and he was known to have beef with V. Durk in Chicago's O Block. After his death, Duck's family blamed Durk and Va for it. Only a couple weeks before Durk's recent arrest, FBG Duck's mother came out with a brand new lawsuit. The suit blames Vaughn and Durk for the killing of Duck on the Gold Coast. The shooting happened all the way back in 2020, just after Vaughn was shot by Quando Rondo's friend L. Tim in August 2020. BG Duck was gunned down while he was standing outside a Dolce & Gabbana store. He died on the scene, but he wasn't the only victim. His girlfriend and also his friend were shot. Two people think Vaughn and Durk were behind this too. And just like with Quando, there was a bounty on Duck's head. The lawsuit not only goes after Durk and Vaughn, but everything associated with them, including their estates and businesses. Duck's also from Chicago, but his murder stemmed from a vicious beef between his gang known as Tweel, which is a sect of the notorious Chicago gang known as the Gangster Disciples. For years, the GDs had beef with another gang known as the Black Disciples. The Black Disciples are the gang that O Block belongs to. These gangs had beef for years, but it started to escalate right before Duck and Vaughn's death. The beginning of the end came when V and FBG Duck started making diss tracks about each other. Although V was shot before FBG Duck he's accused of putting a bounty on his head. It sounds eerily like what Durk's being accused of now is Vaughn seems to be at the center of all of this. It's probably worth getting into some of his crimes too, as after all, if it wasn't for him, Durk wouldn't be in this mess. In January 2011, when V was only 16 years of age, he'd go to jail for armed robbery, and from then on his alleged life of crime would only continue, and he'd be accused of some seriously crazy stuff, like killing a girl. One of the reasons V blew up as much as he did, as he allegedly left hints in his songs about murders and crimes he had committed in the past, some of which had become local legends in Chicago. By the time of his death, V was implicated in tons of murders and has even been labeled rap's first serial killer. Durk, as well as been accused of crimes dating all the way back to when he was a kid, and he's lost many of his friends to the streets. Not long before his arrest, Durk went on a live stream with Adam Ross and touched on his criminal past. Yo, Durk, yo, I'm reacting to the new song, bro. It's really good. You like it? Really, really good, bro. I have a question. No, yeah, in the video, I see a bunch of mug shots. Is that you? Yeah, all my mug shots, like in my past, you've been in jail. They ain't a good thing. Aiden then goes on to ask him how many times he's been in jail. Like, how many times, oh, bro? How many of them up there ate ya? And no, BR. I love the song, though, bro. I'm really happy you dropped this. It's very good. I'm going to add it to my music for sure. And I appreciate, we've been locked in. Yeah, I'll chop it up with you later, bro. All love. All right, love. So this is not his first run-in with the law, but from what we know, he was probably hoping it was his last. It seems he and many others of his Chicago associates are trying to stay away from the gang life. So if he can manage to beat this case, maybe it will be the last time he sees it inside of his cell. But he's got this to worry about first, and with the overwhelming evidence the feds have against him, it's not looking good. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure you click one of the cards on the screen now.